Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome everybody to Poised for Exit. Our guest today is a very special guest that I have been looking forward to interviewing for a long time. He's definitely a serial entrepreneur, and he's going to talk with us a bit today about how he built his business to sell for a very high multiple of EBITDA. But first, let's hear from our show sponsors. Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
Exiting your business is a big deal, both financially and emotionally. I'm John Marquet, certified exit planning advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
For business owners, it can be overwhelming to start planning a transition or exit strategy, but it's so important to avoid unwanted outcomes and unexpected tax bills. The CPAs at JAK, John A. Knutson & Company, can guide you and help make sense of the numbers. Our firm was established over 90 years ago, and we've assisted countless companies with ownership transitions. Leaving your business is a process that takes time. So contact us today to discuss your situation. Visit our website at jakcpa.com. That's jakcpa.com.
My name is Todd Crow, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with the one and only Justin Goodbread, and he is the founder and CEO of several companies. He is an exited owner and now a very successful online coach to advisors, among other things. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Julie. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. I have been for a while. So it's an honor to have you here on Poised for Exit and talking about your exit. I know that you've had a good, successful exit, and you've clearly helped a lot of business owners have successful exits. And now you're doing all these other really great, fun things that are super impactful in the lives of others. But let's start by just maybe sharing, how'd you get here? Like what gave you the impetus to become an entrepreneur, right? It's got to be in your blood. And then brought you all the way to exit, and now you're kind of, it's come full circle and you're back at it again.
Yeah. So it all started when I was 15 years old. I was homeschooled my whole life, and my mom and dad raised us to be entrepreneurs. They started off by teaching us little tricks of the trade from Amway, back a multi-level marketing company back in the 80s, in the early 90s. And then they drug us all around to like Zig Ziglar conferences and Les Brown conferences, you name it. I mean, we did it all. But when I was 15 years old, my dad said, "Hey, son, if you don't have a job by this Friday, don't come home." And now we were homeschooled, so we were a tight family. So what he was teaching me through that hard lesson was that I can make my way. So I ended up throughout the week, failed, trying to get applications with places that he allowed me to work. And it came down to I cut somebody's grass at the age of 15. They paid me $40. And I came home on a Friday. I said, "Dad, I got a job." We call him Pops. "Pops, I have a job." And he's like, "You made $40. And he set me down, Julie, and he said, "Son, I want to teach you something." something that I wish my dad would have taught me. You just made $40 in 2 hours time. He worked at the Georgia Port Authority. He had changed his life drastically to get insurance to help my mom be able to come home and teach us homeschooling. And he said, you made more in 2 hours than what many of my peers make in a day that works with me. And he goes, if you'll forever learn that you can control your own destiny through entrepreneurship by being a business owner, you'll never go without. He said, I taught you how to work hard, taught you how to be a man of your word. But if you'll serve yourself helping others, serve them as Zig Ziglar says, then you'll never go without. So Julie, that launched my landscape company, which we sold when I was 21 years old, right before my wife and I were married. That led into a consulting business that went nationally and we sold it. That led into an insurance company that we built and then sold it. All three of those, I didn't have any purpose to sell them. People just made me unbelievable offers on those companies. And finally, I started a financial planning firm in 2017, December 2017, applied 20 years of business knowledge and began teaching business owners how to build extraordinary wealth. And while I was being coached by my coach, who's my hero, he's rocking my world, I'm teaching others. And within a 49-month period of time, took 3 little companies to a life-changing exit. Totally changed my life. And so today I have the honor and privilege of teaching business owners and advisors. Specifically, I love helping advisors, people who work with business owners, teaching them how to actually apply the lessons I've learned over the last 30 years now of ownership, owning businesses, teaching them how to apply them to their own lives.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a direct result of some of the things you learned yourself, right? Just like going through the process yourself. So
the process is always learning, right? We're always learning the process. But to me, I make this statement often, Julie, you've heard me say this, that God is preparing us for what he's prepared for us. I believe that everything we face in our life is ultimately for our ultimate calling and our beliefs. And so everything I look back the last 30 years, every book I've read, every conference, every coach I've hired, anything I've lost money or made money on is all positioned me for today to be able to serve the people that I believe I could have the most impact to them.
Absolutely. So when we think about the exit experience, right, and you've had more than one, what were some of the things that really stood out for you that maybe surprised you in that process?
In the first 3 transactions, I didn't know what I was doing. Had no clue. And in the early days, this was 20, 30 years ago, whenever I started exiting companies, there wasn't an exit institute or a framework that you or I would probably use today, with all of our expertise, et cetera. So many people didn't know how to build companies to exit. And so when I would look for advice, I would talk to past advisors and there was no framework. And even whenever I relaunched my companies in 2017, there really wasn't this movement that we're now seeing around exit planning. There were no podcasts called Poised for Exit. They just didn't exist. And what I've seen is that over the last maybe 10 years or so, that there's been this plethora of advice and knowledge that's come about. It all boils down to one key factor that we as business owners, or those of us who are advisors teaching business owners, that we have to know, and that is this. The maximum value that somebody's going to receive from their business is centered around who sits in the epicenter of the business. And we've often heard work on our business versus in our business, but very few advisors know how to talk to business owners and teach business owners from a framework to say, here is how you move out of the epicenter of your business. For those business owners who do take and swallow our pride, myself included, we swallow our pride and say, we don't have to be the best at this. We listened to good counsel, and then we applied relentlessly the frameworks that prove value incremental increases. Man, it's an amazing, fulfilling journey that you're going to go through when you build a business and exit it. For those of us who don't do that, it is the most painful thing that you're ever going to experience in your life.
Yes. Right. Well, and you've written a couple books that have helped advisors and business owners through this process. So let's talk about those books. Your baby's ugly.
Yeah, my baby's
Yeah.
ugly.
Yeah. No one wants to hear that, but sometimes the owners are hearing that, right?
Yeah. So that book was my second book. It came after the first book was The Ultimate Sale. And what I was teaching myself is, what does it take to walk through a sale? What are the step-by-steps that take place? And so I wrote the book, The Ultimate Sale. It ended up reaching bestseller on many type of Amazon platforms. It ended up selling over 1 million copies in China. It's kind of interesting to see that book just go all over the place. And then as I began looking, I'm like, okay, well, I know how to exit a company. I've done it a couple of times now when I wrote the book, but how do I take my asset, this business, which is highly illiquid, and how do I grow the value of this said asset? So enter the book, Your Baby's Ugly. And that statement came from my dad. My dad, he had a witty sense of humor. And he would say, son, you never tell a woman their baby's ugly. But if you do, you better run or duck because they're coming after you. And I can remember sitting with business owners, Julie, and I would say, your business is ugly. And I would say it in my simple Southern charm. And they would look at me and we'd laugh. And they're like, yeah, but it's my baby. I'm like, I know, but it's beautiful to you, but it's ugly to everybody else. Let's make it a pretty baby. So I began writing this idea around, let's make, your baby's ugly, but what do you have to do to make it where it's attractive to an outside buyer? And there's a methodology, there's a framework you can use through what we call value acceleration or value growth. There's a way in which you can make your company more valuable without having to work harder, without having to go out and produce 2 or 3, 4 times the type of revenue, which is just going to cause additional risk. So that's what that book's about. And it was able to reach it was able to reach Wall Street Journal bestseller. It was number 1 in Wall Street Journals. I was hoping it was going to reach New York Times bestseller, but that'll be for the new book coming out here very soon.
Oh, maybe it will if it's selling all over the place in China. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
They have their own lists over there, though, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gosh, it reminds me when you say about, the first 3 that you exited, like you really learned a lot because you didn't know what you didn't know. And I had a very similar experience, as you know, because we've talked about it on your show before. But I really think that for people like you and me who've actually been through it, that's just like the kind of practical knowledge that I think not only business owners need, but advisors need, that we try to help through this process, right? Because we're not teaching them anything theoretical so much as we are practical. Like this
You know
is
what?
real
I
world.
love. Well, you know me, Julie. I love to hunt. I'm a country boy
Yeah.
at heart. I love to get in the woods. And yeah, I just
Mhm.
came back from Argentina. You and I were talking about this while we were together here very recently. And when it would not make a lot of sense for me to go to a different continent or in a place that I don't speak the native language or never been there before and try to wander through the woods in search of the game that I'm after. That doesn't make any sense to me. Instead, what made a lot of sense for me was to hire somebody who's been there, done that, who knew the terrain, who's lived it, who's walked multiple people through that terrain before in search of the actual game. Same is true when it comes to business. It doesn't make sense for me as a business owner to try to walk through this value creation journey if I'm on my first business or second business by myself. It really doesn't make sense for me to try to walk through an exit of my company if I've never done it before. Not whenever there are advisors out in our world that we work in that have walked hundreds of business owners through that journey. And so to me, those of us who have the experience or the knowledge, who personally have gone through it, we sit at the precipice. We sit on the tip of the spear to be able to help other advisors and business owners saying, hey, here are the pitfalls that you need to be aware of. Here are some things that you can do a year, 2, 3, 4 years before your exit to help make this thing the best day of your life versus, friend, if we don't do this properly and you try to do a DIY here, you're going to end up like the statistics say, which is 96% of business owners who sell their companies are less than happy with the results. And I didn't want that. I wanted to be in that 4 percentile who said, man, not only was the exit powerful, and not only did it change my family's life and the clients that I have the honor and privilege to serve and the communities and the charities and everybody who's touched by this business, I want to sit back and say, yeah, that was fun. That was fun. It was impactful. I was able to serve people. I was able to change their lives through the gifts God gave me. I wanted that experience, Julie. And so by me bringing on the right advisors in my own life, being an advisor myself, but bringing advisors to help coach me and teach me and guide me through those processes made a unbelievable journey now that I'm having fun teaching others to do.
Yeah, it's super rewarding. When we think about the work that we do, it's not just like work. It's impactful. It's life-changing. Yeah. So tell us about the things that you're working on right now. Now you've had another exit. Now you've got online courses, you're doing a lot of coaching, you're doing a lot of professional speaking. Let's talk about all those things.
So whenever I sold my company, Julie, we had started the company in December of 2017, and we started an RIA, registered investment advisor, from scratch. No clients. And within 49 months, we had an 8-figure exit. It was a pretty powerful move in our industry. Many financial advisors listen to that, or they hear that, or other professional advisors, attorneys, CPAs, hear them like, how in the world did you do that? And again, my hero is my coach. My coach rocked my world. He poured into me and helped me accomplish some of my wildest dreams.
Sure.
But the day came whenever Emily was very sick. My wife was very sick during COVID. And we honestly didn't think she was going to live. We had the conversation with our attorneys. We had the conversation with our children that, hey, mom may not come home from the hospital.
Oh,
Very
my
tough
goodness.
time, very hard time. Now,
Wow.
thank God she's healthy. In fact, you'll see her
Yes.
in a few weeks whenever we're together, but she is healthy and an absolute miracle. But during that
Yes.
time period, as we business owners will experience at some point, either by our own design or by default, I was faced with some questions. The questions asked to me very differently. One was my wife. She's laid in the hospital room and she said, Justin, and this is not me beating my chest. You know me well enough. And I hope the audience understands that I am blessed beyond measure. But my wife said, Justin, what's another $1 million going to do for us? And it was this heartfelt moment that she was talking to her spouse, her love, as she's facing an unimaginable circumstance. And it was pulling down to my heartstring that it's not about the money, it's about the impact. I went back and I was talking to my coach, Julie, and my coach said, Justin, that's interesting. Let me ask you a question. If you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, what would you do tomorrow that you're not doing today? And Julie, so whenever I had my bride, who's now healthy, but at that time was very tough, and my coach pouring into me from 2 different directions and seeing this business that I loved, excelling, I mean, through the roof acceleration, taking time off from work, everything that we teach business owners to do, I had done. It was the pride of my life at that point. I had to come to the answer those 2 questions. And my answer was, if I had unlimited time, I would spend more time with my family and use every second away from my family to impact millions of people. And what would I do tomorrow that I'm not doing today? I would write more, I would travel more, I would speak more, and I would impact more. Those were the words I said. So we ended up selling the business, walked through that exit, had a great time. I stepped into a short-term stint for the buying company. We doubled that value of that company in 18 months with me serving as the president. And I saw that the principles I had worked in my own life could be applied in a small business as well as a middle market business. Business is business. And so we just apply the principles. So presently, to your question now, with that as a backdrop, I made a commitment to my wife and my family that as long as my children are at home, daddy is going to be daddy. And so now I'm having a blast working my kids, playing with them, serving with them, working with the church, working and traveling and playing. We're just having a fun time as a family. But when we're not as a family, I have this belief in my ethos that says, wherever you're at, be there. And so
Yes.
now I want to speak to millions of business owners and say, look, guys, gals, if this country boy, born and raised on a dirt road in South Georgia, talks a little weird for some of you up north, if I could accomplish through God's grace what he allowed me to accomplish, anybody can. I'm not that smart. I'm not that different. In fact, I don't have the pedigree. I don't have the things that so many of you have. But God has equipped us each uniquely that we can accomplish our wildest dreams if we have the tenacity. So now what I'm looking at, Julie, is I love being on stage. I love watching the audience members realize that there is this grander vision outside of your company. There's this grander vision outside of your credential. There's this grander vision that you have for your life than serving the almighty dollar. I'm having a blast talking into microphones on stage, writing my books around that. And then whenever I'm not talking to the masses, we have a digital coaching group, which is a group coaching product that I basically taken the last 400 hours of my content, my books, my blog, everything that I documented during my journey, and I broke it down into the necessary tips and steps that my coach used to rock my world. I placed it in a digital format that a business owner who is extremely busy can do a DIY, and those perhaps who's not, who's like, hey, I need a coach like I had, could come in and through a group coaching program can literally get my best information, the information that I've used not only for my life, but coached hundreds of business owners through exits, through radical transformation, that you can take your company and you can double or triple the enterprise value of your company in as little as 18 to 36 months, while at the same time taking off more work and having freedom. So I'm having this blast of impacting, I hope, millions of people. And I want to continue to pour into the microphone stage. I love it. I love watching people's lives change. And for those who want a little bit more intimacy, those who want a little bit more structure and framework, we built a coaching program that can help them rock their world.
You have so many offerings for, and those are for advisors too, right? Not just business owners that you're talking about,
Absolutely.
these particular programs?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
the advisors are so fun because advisors have the opportunity to impact many, many, many people. But many of them don't have the framework themselves. They have the
yeah,
knowledge, but they don't have
right.
a framework which could scale out. So it's been a lot of fun to build that out for advisors, specifically financial advisors.
Sure, sure. And because you've done it yourself, you have the track record. And so it isn't just fluff. You actually have done the work. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Done the work, got the scars.
And you're a super awesome person on top of it. I mean, why wouldn't anybody want to work with you?
You're too kind.
Yeah, it's totally true. So let's talk about what people are saying about working with you, because I know that you've been at this now for a couple of years and you've it's like taking off like crazy. And so if I'm a business owner, maybe I'll start with that first. If I'm a business owner, what type of business owner is your ideal client? Is it the smaller ones that like to DIY, or is it the lower middle market, middle market? Where are they at?
You know, one of the things we teach is that you should always have an avatar, one person to whom you know you could rock their world, one person that if they met you, they'd be drastically changed for the rest of their life. I believe this with all my heart, Julie. And so in my previous businesses, I had an avatar. Now we have an avatar named Resistant Randy. Let me tell you about
Mm,
Randy. Randy is a service-based business owner. Most of the time, they're advisors, they're attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors. Maybe they're a professional like a doctor or a dentist who own their own business. They're
okay.
typically of the age around 40 to 50 years of age. They're not newbies. They've been in the world for a while, but they're facing some sort of resistance. And they don't know why this resistance is not letting them scale properly. Maybe it's that they're taking the businesses now absorb their life and they can't spend time with their kids. Maybe it's like, you know what? I don't have time to figure it out. I want to hire somebody who has a framework and move forward. And I have a 78 page around who Resistant Randy is, because Resistant Randy is this individual that's like, look, I need help now. I don't want to do this forever. I want to create freedom. I want to break through the glass ceiling. And so what we're able to do now with Resistant Randy is show him a framework on here is how the specific action items which are going to move the needle. So I love working with Resistant Randy. Now, coincidentally, most Resistant Randys who are reaching out are certified exit planning advisors or certified financial planners who are awesome technicians, but they don't
Yes.
quite know how to build a business. So for example, one of our offerings is we do a 2-day intensive that we do 2 days in the office together, and people are flying in from all over the country to spend 2 days here with me in Knoxville. And we rip their business apart, and then we give them what we might call a 90-day sprint using our language. And then they go into a group coaching program. We just did another 2-day intensive last week, and there were 2 partners came in from Connecticut. Financial advisory practice, average, let's just say the average practice after 16 years, but they were stuck. Whenever they came in, we always do this exit interview because I want my team to find out where we succeeded and where we did not meet their expectations. One of the questions they asked, I didn't know they're going to ask this, which is kind of cool. They said, did Justin's advice today meet your expectations? Or did it exceed it or did not meet it? One of them said, I didn't know we were going to get that granular. I didn't know I was going to have tears. I didn't think we were going to get that detailed. An exact quote, now I know why he's successful. So we have that type of a comment. And then we have a comment that I love hearing. Have one of our advisors who is a financial advisor out of Colorado who jumped into our $1,500 a month mastermind program. And he sent me a message. He said, hey, Goodbread, 90 days in. So I'm calculating in my head, $4,500. What's he going to say is how much he's invested this far. 90 days in, I just signed a client for 12 grand. Cool deal. Look forward to the future. So I'm not saying those are going to be the normal results, but what I believe with all my heart, Julian, you know me to know this is true, that I believe whatever my hands finds to do, I'm going to do it with all my heart unto the Lord, not unto men. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that I'm going to give my very best. And these advisors, these business owners who place their confidence and trust, and I have the privilege and the ability through our system to serve them, then at the end of the day, I want them to say, Goodbread rocked my world. Just like I can say of my coach is my hero. My coach pushed me further than I ever thought was possible. I would not have accomplished what I accomplished without that man investing in my life. That's what I want to see in our students. And thus far, we launched the company last July 1st. Here we are as the day is recording, not quite a year later. And we are going to break 7 figures in revenue within the first fiscal year. So that
Awesome.
number should testify to the power and the impact that we're having within business advisors, specifically financial advisors.
Fantastic. So the burning question I have right now, the last question I have is, now that you've done all these things, what's next after that? What does the future look like?
That's a great question. And I would be I'd be lying to you if I told you exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
I believe with all my heart, there's this vision that God's given me, that there's this journey that I'm charging forward. In fact, when I was with my coaches, I have coaches that I pay a lot of money to and they rock my world today. I was with them, Julie, and I was painting this vision that, man, I can see tens of millions of business owners impacted with this simple country message that if you just do this, it can radically change your life. And I was talking to them, and they said, well, how much are you willing to pay for that vision? Now, what they meant in that conversation was not necessarily a dollar point. It was, are you willing to sacrifice everything that you have thus far to reach that mission? And in that moment, Julie, little tears hit my face. And I'm like, I'm scared. I have a vision so big right now that it scares me. For the first times in my life as an entrepreneur of 30 years, and my personality, I'm going to grab the bull by the horns and wrestle it to the ground. I actually have this vision that is so big that it's like, I don't know how it's going to happen. And in that meeting, my wife, she's sitting beside me with our 3 coaches, and my wife's beside me. I said, I don't know. The enemy's in my head. He's whispering doubt. And I said, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know what I want. And my wife said, then we run toward it. It's like, whew, tears, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the future holds in terms of what's next. I can tell you that this mission I'm on right now is to dynamically change the lives of 10,000 business owners. That's my mission I'm on. And I'm going to pursue that mission until either God calls me home or he changes that through divine intervention. So I don't know what's next, but I can tell you the path I'm on right now, I'm not stopping. I'm going to relentlessly pursue this vision that God's given me, and I'm going to charge hell with a water pistol to see if we can make it happen.
And I can't wait to watch and cheer you on and have you back on the show and give us an update in 6 months to a year. So we got to make sure that happens. It's been awesome.
You're too kind, friend. You're too kind.
Justin, so happy to have you on the show. So proud of you. So proud to know you. And listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Please do share this episode with your friends, colleagues, clients, neighbors, everybody, and join us again next time.